I'm not absolutely sure, who this energy is for. And I'm not sure who needs to hear this, but it means a lot to me to be able to share it. And I appreciate you for listening. The topic for discussion today is going to be rumination. Just to follow up, my previous video, we talked about changing the locks and coming to that point where we're done. Coming to that point where we're done looking to diagnose the situation and trying to make sense out of it. There's just, some things in life that don't make sense, and they're not supposed to make sense. When you're in danger, when you're not in a safe space, sometimes before we can even begin to unpack things or try to make sense out of them and get the best from it and leave the rest, we got to get out and we got to get to a safe space first. We have to find separation. We have to find isolation. We have to find that wilderness first. But rumination, I made a previous video on it. I'll definitely make sure that I link it somewhere in the video so that you can check that out. But I wanted to revisit that because when I was making my previous video and I was sitting there and I was editing and I was listening to myself, it kind of took me back to that time and where I was and how so much in my life has changed and how I've been able to heal so much and grow so much about that and really take responsibility for my part too, because that's big in taking your power back and beginning to love on yourself and heal yourself about the situation. But rumination, for me, and this is just based on my own personal experience, this is me sharing of myself with you and how I was affected by rumination. But really what it came down to, and it took me a very long time to come to this realization about it, was basically a loss of trust in myself. See, a lot of the confidence that I have is because of the self-love. And when you lose trust in yourself because you find yourself in a situation that shakes up your belief system, like it shakes up everything that you thought that you knew, it tugs on your self-love and that trust that you need. When you're in a position where you can trust yourself fully, you're more equipped to make decisions without nitpicking. Like you're ready, to commit. You make a decision and you're ready to commit to it and you're ready to stand on whatever it is that you decided for yourself. But when you don't trust yourself, you overthink. And for me personally, I'm the type of person, if I'm not careful, I'm living in my head more than I am walking around out here amongst the land of the living. I'm my best companion. And I've always been that way. I don't necessarily consider myself to be an introvert, but I can be an introverted person. And I'm great company for myself and I'm comfortable with myself. But that also makes me great company for other people, but I have to make an effort to be intentional about that. So when you're overthinking and you're just in your head all day and you lost trust in yourself, you're questioning yourself. You don't believe. It's like when you get out of bed in the morning, you don't think about it. You swivel your body around and you put your feet on the ground. You know the ground is going to be there. Think about it. You don't think about or question whether the floor is going to be there when you get out of bed in the morning, or even better still, when you wake up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, you don't think about whether the floor is going to be under your feet or not. You jump up and go. It's the same thing. You have to have that trust within yourself and you have to be secure in that trust, because there's times in life where we have to think critically. You don't have a lot of time to make a list or to do the pros and cons or to go back and forth and consider. There's some times and there's some things that happen in life where we have to make a decision right there in the moment without being able to consult someone else, and we don't have time to overthink. But when you don't trust yourself and when you don't believe in yourself because you opened yourself up, and you open yourself up to love, or so you thought, you open yourself up to someone in situations where you thought if you gave the absolute best of yourself, you would get that in return. It stings. And like I said, it shakes you up when you don't get that in return. But that's also giving with an expectation that you would get what you needed to, right? So there's accountability to be had, but you have to be able to trust yourself in order to love yourself to your fullest potential, in order to have that confidence within yourself, the ability to heal even when life happens and life comes at us fast. You need that trust. And that's what rumination was for me. That was my fight, my internal fight with myself to get back to that place where I could trust and believe in myself. And as a result of that healing, all these years removed from a toxic and narcissistic relationship, I understand the apparent and emergent need to have self-trust on my journey through this life, no matter what it is that I'm doing, even when things are good. Self-trust is important. And to me, it's one of those things from like an emotional awareness of self and from a check-in perspective that I don't hear a lot of people talk about. I pretty much learned about it through trial and error and through experience. And it wasn't until after I was deeper into my healing journey that I understood that the reason why I was ruminating so much, and I'm talking about like literal sleepless nights, was because I wasn't trusting myself. And that's not a place that I'm familiar with being in. Like I'm my biggest fan. I'm typically like my biggest advocate. I stand up for myself. My intuition goes off when I'm being mistreated. I know where I'm not gravitating towards places of love. I can tell when the love is fake, usually. But, and no excuses, but that love bomb phase is really real. That love bomb phase is really real, especially when, you went through something. I was in a season of my life where I was going through a lot in that time when I made the acquaintance of the toxic and narcissistic person in my life. And that love bomb phase was intoxicating for me. And just like any other drug, you spend the duration of your addiction on that chase, on the hunt for that feeling. And it's never going to be the same again. Even once you go through those cycles, love bomb, devaluation, and discard, even as you continue to go through those cycles, that love bomb, it'll never feel the same as that first hit, that first encounter. It's like I said, it's electrifying, it's intoxicating, it's disarming you. It's literally toxic and poisonous, but you don't feel it as such at that time. And the rumination, it was such a hard phase for me. And like I said, I was alone in that healing journey to begin with. I didn't necessarily have the best resources or the best support in the beginning. And then there's also that aspect of shame that comes with it. Not everyone has a cool aunt or a cousin or a younger sister or a daughter or even a close friend that they can confide in and talk to about it. We tend to go through these situations and begin our healing journeys alone because of the shame that's associated with the fact that I found myself in that position. Usually, you're the type of person that, you appear to have it together. People look up to you. People come to you and confide in you, and they look for your perspective, and they want your light and your strength. And that's a part of what attracted the toxic or narcissistic person to you. It was that light. It was what they saw in you that they could never find in themselves. There's a reason why they choose us. They're hunters, and they know exactly what it is that they're doing. If you find yourself connected to a toxic or narcissistic person, it's not by accident. It wasn't an accident. It was by design, right? And so that shame that comes with finding yourself in that situation, sometimes it's hard to find support or people to open up to. And as a result of that, you're trying to be your own best friend, your own advisor, your own consultant, your own healer, your own counselor, your own therapist, and you ruminate. So I literally had sleepless nights, restless nights, tossing and turning because I was in my own head about it. But slowly but surely, as I began to add in positive things to my life, I ruminated less and less, and I was ready to forgive myself and love myself and open up my hands and let go of that negative energy, which in turn made it a lot easier to find myself into no contact and stay there because I realized that closure came from inside of me. What's the point of looking for closure? Why are we seeking closure in somebody who we can't trust? We don't believe anything they say. They're not here to answer any questions for us. One of the main weapons that a toxic or narcissistic person has is that they weaponize the fact that you're going to want closure. As a matter of fact, they depend on it. They depend and lean on the fact that you're going to want more because they look at that as an opening, a crack in the door, a crack in a window. They're thinking that deliberately leaving you with unanswered questions is going to allow them to hoover and even reverse hoover because they're hoping that you'll come back to them. But I want to talk about some steps that we can take, not just identifying, ruminating, and why it is that we do it, the loss of trust, and all of the unanswered questions, our desire to want to fix things, our codependency, us finding value in being able to heal somebody or cure somebody or help somebody else. But I want to talk about some of the steps that I took that would enable me to minimize the ruminating. And the more I began to heal, the less I ruminated, until one day I noticed that I wasn't really doing it at all, and I could rest well, and I could move on with my life, and I could smile, and I could laugh, and I could socialize. And eventually you find yourself, desiring a healthy connection again. You find yourself wanting that closeness from others, right? So one of the first things I recommend doing is identifying that you're doing it, recognizing what it is. Sometimes we find ourselves in a bad cycle of a habit, and we don't even recognize that we're doing it. Sometimes, as crazy as it may seem, we need that hatred. We need that negativity. We need that toxicity. We need that sadness to get over it. It's like we need a reason, a way to pinpoint what it is that we're upset about and why the situation needs to change. So identifying that you're ruminating, that's the first step, on your journey of healing when it comes to minimizing that ruminating and overthinking and calculating and that unhealthy desire to want to fix the situation instead of just accepting it for what it is and then creating distance and space for yourself, because that's what you need to heal, time and space. No contact is money, and that's exactly where we want to be. So that's the first step. The next step in this process is going to be to distance yourself. You cannot get well in a toxic place. You can't get well in a place of negative energy. You can't get well in a place of sickness. So gray rock, strategizing until you can find yourself in no contact. I know that's easier said than done, and no way am I minimizing that process, but this is going to be your next step. You got to get in no contact, and you have to know that you deserve that peace. Beyond that, we're going to start implementing things that we enjoy and things that make us feel good. I also like to take it a step further and connecting to things that allow you to feel childlike so that you can nurture your inner child and forgive yourself, from the bottom up, whether that be cartoons before you go to bed because it's lighter, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because they're comfortable and they allow you to connect with that inner child within you that needs love. Going to parks or playgrounds, just to take walks and be in nature and hear the birds chirp and hear kids running around and playing and hear dogs barking and getting your steps in and being in the sun. That's healing. Those are positive things. I recommend backfilling your life with positive things. Don't look for escapes in a negative way necessarily. Alcohol, drinking, smoking in excess, and turning to negative people. Because in a sense, you're vulnerable just as well as you were at the time when you met the toxic and narcissistic person, and we're trying to break cycles. So we're not going to find ourselves in the clutches of another toxic or unhealthy or narcissistic person, because that's easy to do if you think about it. This is a time of healing, so we need a little bit of separation. We need time to ourselves. So that's another positive way of limiting and minimizing the ruminating, because now we have positive things and beauty to focus on. All right. Taking yourself out. You don't necessarily need a reason to, take a nice shower and put your makeup on. Fellas, go get yourself a fresh cut, a fresh fit. Ladies, put on a beautiful dress, a beautiful top that makes you feel good, perfume that makes you smell nice. Being in a position where you're ready to maybe, turn a few heads and get some compliments. There's nothing wrong with a healthy desire to be seen and healthy attention to help build yourself back up, build that confidence and let you know that you still got it. Fellas, put that cologne on, get that fresh cut, get a good workout in and step out. Let the world see you. So that's another way to begin healing and limiting the ruminating, but also just forgiving yourself too, loving on yourself through that process. Enough negativity, enough darkness, love on yourself through what you've been through so you can heal. So backfilling and implementing positive things, that's another way that's going to help you minimize the ruminating. Activity, working out, exercising, lifting weights, calisthenics, yoga. They're all cheat codes to life They are cheat codes to life. Working out and jogging and things like it's mental. That's the beautiful thing about it. It's a beautiful escape, and it's overlooked. And it's not just about, the end result and what you may look like. It's what it gives you mentally. It's a beautiful escape. We're going to implement some activity levels and making sure that we're getting that in. I also want to talk about fasting. Fasting is another cheat code to life. And there's many different ways to fast. Fasting isn't just about food. You can fast from different types of media or programming. You can fast from social media. You can fast from fried foods. You can fast from eating out, right? You can do a fast of just fruits and nuts and water and things like that. You can fast from drinking expensive coffee every day. So that's another cheat code to life. And you can just intermittent fast. You can eat within a window. So design a plan for you that works and commit to it. It's another way to regain that trust within yourself because you set a goal for yourself and then you actually see it through. 75 hard type vibes that you design for yourself. It doesn't necessarily need to be 75 days. It can be 10. It can be 20. It's another great way to reconnect with yourself and build that trust within yourself again. Love on yourself because you're going to need that. And that's going to help minimize the ruminating. Okay? Happy times and laughter is important. It's important. And combining these things, activity levels, the sun, the programming that you're taking in, what you're listening to, what you're watching, audiobooks. Some people aren't avid readers, but audiobooks, again, it's another cheat code to life. There's no better time to be alive when it comes to the ability to be self-taught and seeking out information resources. So take advantage. It's audiobooks. You can go sit in the park on a blanket with your headphones, water bottle, a snack, and just listen to a few chapters of an audiobook and be in the world. It's, again, a great way to get away and get out of your own head, but also gain some knowledge too, right? I want to emphasize not rushing to what some call monkey branching, which is jumping from one relationship to another, replacing one drug with another. You're not in your higher self right now. You're not in your highest energy right now. And you and your body and your subconscious, you'll know for sure when the time comes. But some people have made that mistake of looking to replace their toxic or narcissistic relationship with something or someone else, and it doesn't end well, and the outcome isn't good for anybody involved because you weren't ready. And last but not least, and this is of the utmost importance, loved ones, stay off of social media. Stay off of social media. Set up a group chat between you and your closest friends or loved ones or support systems if that's what you need to do to be able to send and receive pictures. But I would strongly recommend you stay off of social media for the purposes of removing yourself from friend groups where the toxic or narcissistic person in your life may frequent. The fact that they have flying monkeys and the fact that people will be reporting back not only to you but to them in a way that is negative and would have a negative impact on your healing journey. But you need quiet time and you need peace and you need rest and mental rest at that. I would highly recommend, and it did wonders for me. Luckily for me, I was not heavy into social media at the time. It was easy for me to remove myself and cut off access. Stay off of social media and understand that anything that they post in the aftermath is going to be designed to hurt you. They're hoping that you see it. They're hoping that you check. They're hoping that you're curious. They're hoping that by them performing and posting the new supply, and by them performing and by them appearing to give the new supply the attention and love and the trips and the experiences that you wanted, will hurt you more and perhaps bring you back to them. It'll perhaps cause you to want to compete with the toxic or narcissistic person lurking and seeing what they got going on. Stay off of social media. The toxic or narcissistic person in your life is depending on you checking their social media.